First of all, I would like to thank for inviting me. Thank you for inviting me to this session. This is Gülay Hasdoğan. I am the head of the Department of Industrial Design at Middle East Technical University. I am the head of Accreditation Committee, both in ETMK and in ETAC. I will explain about these institutions. And in my presentation today, in my presentation, I will first explain why do we need accreditation and what is our motivation for accrediting design education. Who are the stakeholders of accreditation? Who takes part in them? The accreditation process and the principles of authorizing accrediting body, and what we have done until now and what we will be doing next. So why accreditation? Why do we need that? So accreditation is firstly about setting standards to determine minimum requirements for an industrial design educational program. So in order to start a program, an undergraduate program in industrial design education, what are the minimum requirements and what are the minimum elements that should take part in an undergraduate program or graduate programs? But we are focusing on undergraduates in this scheme. Secondly, to determine institutional goals about design education. So the first one is about setting the minimum standards that every industrial design program must comply. Secondly, each institution may set different approaches, different goals, etc., for their program. So this accreditation scheme allows them to set those goals and check whether they actually comply with these goals. Thirdly, of course, the major thing is about raising the quality of design education, raising our programs' quality, and also raising overall quality in a country, in a profession, about design education. In order to do that, we actually improve our programs by continuously planning, doing, checking, and acting. This is called PDCA cycle. I will explain them. So we make a plan to improve ourselves, we implement it, we control whether we implement it in a good way, and then after checking, after controlling, we act accordingly to revise or to develop it. Fourthly, to form an educational guide with a collective effort. So this is a collective effort. We are not on our own, really, checking everything, planning, but we actually set all these guidelines all together with all the stakeholders, taking their opinions, etc. So it is a collective effort, which is the good thing about it. And to trigger volunteerism for self-improvement, it is actually a volunteer thing to accredit, to decide on accreditation. So we decide that we want to improve ourselves, and we need to apply a scheme to check whether we are really improving or not. So this is actually done voluntarily. If we don't want to do it, we don't do it. So what was our motivation for accrediting design education? Our motivation is in the industrial design education, especially, is changing its scope continuously. So the definition of the profession adapts itself to the changes in technology and society. The professional practice includes UX design, service design, game design, as well as product design. So it's not only product design anymore. So also WDO adapted its definition of the profession accordingly. So how will industrial design education adapt itself to these changes? So this is one motivation, actually, to act collectively, to decide altogether whether how we will be adapting ourselves to these changes. Also, second motivation is the changes in industrial design in educational methods. First of all, due to pandemic, the education changed dramatically during pandemic, and technological developments also. So the remote learning methods, distant education methods, these are all spreaded. They are widely used, although the effects of pandemic are now, we are released from those effects and we are trying to turn to normal. But since we experienced remote education, we have seen advantages of it. We are partly using it. We are using hybrid education, and if even if we go totally to normal, we will still be implementing some aspects of remote learning, some aspects of distant education. So these are also changes happening all the time about design education. Thirdly, but it was our first motivation in Turkey, there are reforms in higher education. Accreditation became a necessity in the higher education system in Turkey. So closer engineering fields already have established their accreditation schemes. It is a factor affecting university candidates' preferences. So they, while making their preferences, they look whether that institution is accredited or not, whether that profession is also kind of accredited or not. So who are the stakeholders of accreditation? So here we see some names here. ETMK is actually the Industrial Designers Society of Turkey. So let's call this rectangle as professional institution. ETAC is the Council of Industrial Design department heads. It is an informal institution, not an institution which is actually authorized for taking action, but it is an institution. It is a board, actually, board of department heads, which is very effective and very influential, and they decide on policies of education. And NTAC will be the accreditation board. I will explain in detail in later slides, but NTAC will be a board which takes its decision independent from ETMK, but it will be established according to the regulations of ETMK. It will be a body of ETMK. So NTAC will be the accrediting body, and it is formed of these stakeholders: professionals, students, employers, educators. All these stakeholders will have some word to say in making decisions. I will explain it better later. I mentioned ETAC which is the Council of Industrial Design Department Heads. It is founded in 2006. It gathers, it makes its meetings twice in a year, once in 6 months, and at each time one of the institutions, one of the departments, one of the universities actually, acts as a host institution and invites all the other department heads. And in those meetings, also some student representatives speak, and the representatives of the educational representatives of those institutions discuss the problems of design education, and then sometimes they take decisions in terms of making policies about design education. So this is an actually a photo taken from our last face-to-face meeting in 2019, and we hope we will be doing face-to-face meetings from now on. In between, all the meetings were online. The other stakeholder is ETMK. ETMK is Industrial Designers Society of Turkey, founded in 1988. The professional designers and also educators are member of, become a member of ETMK. So ETMK actually will serve as an umbrella institution for ENTAC, the accreditation board. So this is actually a screenshot from a strategic plan meeting of ETMK in August 2021, and in this meeting, accreditation was also one of the issues discussed, and some strategic decisions were made. So what is an accreditation process? This is a famous diagram called PDCA cycle. We plan, we do, we check, and we act in order to improve ourselves. So it is actually called a self-evaluation process. You set your institutional goals, you make a plan accordingly, you implement that plan, and check whether you have achieved your plans or not, to which extent you have achieved, and act in order to improve yourself. In an accreditation process, what an institution does is, first, an institution makes a decision whether to get accredited or not. So, as I said, this is a voluntary process. So the institution prepares a self-evaluation report and applies to ENTAC. In this case, ENTAC is, as I said, this independent accreditation board under ETMK. ENTAC assigns, in the second step, ENTAC assigns an examination committee for this institution. This examination committee, formed of educators, professionals, and the student representative, visits the institution and checks whether this institution does whatever it is planning to do. And they evaluate the institution. And the fourth step is the accreditation process. The examiners make a decision and propose a result, whether to accept that this institution should be accredited, whether they will ask for a revision or whether they will reject the institution's request for accreditation. ENTAC, the board, accreditation board, which is formed of educators, again, representatives of educators, professionals, a student representative, and an employer representative, makes a final decision whether to accredit that institution or not. And this is also a cyclic process. Once you get the accreditation, you revise your strategic plan, a self-evaluation, and in every 4 years or 5 years, you apply again to renew your accreditation. So, how will ETMK become an accrediting body? How it will become authorized to establish this, accreditation board and TAC, and to accredit institutions? There are principles actually. ETMK will apply YÖKAK, which is Higher Education Accreditation Council of Turkey, and YÖKAK evaluates this authorizing body in terms of these principles. So these principles are sustainability and continuous improvement. In this sense, actually, YÖKAK examines ETMK in terms of these criteria, whether that institution adopted a quality management system based on strategic planning and self-evaluation. Actually, ETMK made a first step for renewing its strategic plan for that. The second principle is the participatory strategies. So whether the institution gets continuous opinions from stakeholders. So they should be consulting the opinions of stakeholders. It should be a participatory process. Reliability is another criterion, assuring that the results would not change when applied by a different group. So you actually set an examining committee, they evaluate you. If it was a different examining committee, the resulting decision shouldn't change. Therefore, there should be some set evaluation criteria, and these should be really objective criteria for evaluation, and the evaluation should be done accordingly. Transparency, all the processes and results are published to be viewed by all stakeholders, and all the processes are archived. So all these processes should be published and should be seen transparently by all the stakeholders. Independence, therefore, this accreditation board, although it is under ETMK, tied to ETMK, it should be independent, which means that the decisions are made free from the influence of external parties, and conflict of interest is avoided. So the examining committees are also independent while evaluating that institution. And training and development, that the institution must organize regular training activities for the examiners in order to, learn, for them to learn all these principles and accreditation processes. So what have we done so far? We started this process in 2019, May, by establishing an accreditation committee in ETAC This was done in the 24th ETAC meeting at Middle East Technical University. In nearly a year later, 2020 March, ETMK is chosen as an umbrella institution. ETAC decided that the Industrial Design Accreditation Board, ENTAC, will operate independently under ETMK's roof. 2 months later, in 2020 May, where we actually started facing pandemic's effects, we received a training. ETAC and ETMK representatives participated in a special training workshop by Erbil Payzın, who is one of the founders of MÜDEK, Engineering Accreditation Board of Turkey. They are the most experienced accreditation body in higher education. So we received that training from them voluntarily. And a year later, in 2021, May, in March actually, ETMK changed its regulation and renewed its strategic plan. In March, in a general assembly, ETMK revised its regulation. This was postponed due to the pandemic, which was planned much earlier. And in that regulation, they defined ENTAC as an independent body in its General Assembly. And later, ETMK renewed its strategic plan accordingly and formed the accreditation committee. So there is an accreditation committee again under ETMK. So what have we done in terms of tasks until now? We examined exemplary schemes such as NASAT, which is the most established art and design accreditation scheme in the world. It's the American accrediting body. We also consulted accreditation schemes of engineers and architects, architectural programs in Turkey, MÜDEK and MİAK. We compiled the program outcomes. I'll show it. We compiled the program outcomes of all 32 departments giving undergraduate education in Turkey and Northern Cyprus. So what are program outcomes actually? It is the set of all knowledge, skills, and competencies students must gain after finishing the program. So all these skills, knowledge, the knowledge of design methods, knowledge of design history, etc., or the skills, creativity skills, drawing skills, modeling skills, etc., the competencies also. These were all written by these departments, and we actually compiled all of them. We grouped them, and we formed a total holistic scheme for ENTAC. And we decided on the most important program outcomes that should take part in, every industrial design undergraduate program. We formed that list. We prepared accreditation criteria, to which criteria should an institution be evaluated. We formed them under certain titles, and those criteria includes, the quality, how the students will be admitted to the programs, how will they be selected, What should be the qualities of educators, tutors, staff members, all staff members? What should be the quality of all facilities in terms of space, educational spaces, workshops, and mechanical machine facilities, etc. After setting all these criteria, we determined, we prepared a self-evaluation template, and we prepared an application template for the institution to fill in. And what is next? The next step is actually to apply to YOKAG, which is the Higher Education Quality Council, after finalizing the documents. And we will wait for their decision to authorize ETMK for accreditation. So this is all about my presentation. I can take questions. I will be happy to answer the questions if there are any. I don't know whether we can take questions or not.
Thank you so much, Gülay.
Your voice is echoing.
Yes, thank you so much again, Gülay. It was a quick journey about the accreditation process, but I know that it takes months and months and more than years to be able to focus on to find the exact attitude and to make the process live. If I don't know if there is any question. If there is no, we can stop and turn back to the networking area together. I don't know if you have any issue that would you like to add on the topic. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you again for inviting me. I think accreditation is an important issue, and especially in design professions, this is important because the standards may change a lot according to institutions. There should be standards, but of course, there should be a free space for every institution to set their goals. So the accreditation schemes allow that. So I actually suggest that every institution consider this.
Thank you so much. We will be talking on this program together, probably also at the WDO zone and with the members. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much, Gülay, for accepting and bringing your ideas and committees, principles that you brought to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye
Bye-bye.
for now.